you. Thank you very much. I'm really excited. My name is Hafedh. I'm a French Tunisian coming all the way along from Paris to my first Agile Prague. I hope it won't be the last, Susie. So I'm here to speak about two of my passions. First, agility, and the second is brain-based learning and neuroscience. Of course, I'm no neuroscientist, but I'm going to share some insights. So, if you're here today, I bet all my money that you are on a quest. You want to achieve things for the sake of your teams, for the sake of your organization. You want to improve their work. You want them motivated, deliver better value. But you struggle, like me. And I struggled in many ways. And with regards to the subject of today, I categorize those struggles into three. First thing is old habits. There's a saying in French, I couldn't translate it well in English, but old habits are really hard to chase away. And we're gonna see why. The second thing is the fixed mindset. And you will tell me, Hafedh, but fixed mindset cannot be undone. No, and we can change our mindset towards a growth mindset, and we'll see how as well. And the third thing is that we face complex systems. And by complex systems, I'm not speaking only about organizations, but also about human beings. We are complex systems in our own. We are built of thoughts and beliefs. Some are true, some aren't. So, what to do with this? I am bringing in a new view, and I'm really glad from this morning. I was speaking with Nigel, with Alan, with many of you about how the flow from Diana's talk this morning is leading to the exact moment that will give you more answers, and it's magic. And we'll see it little by little. But first, I want you to think about a change that you got in your life, whether work or professional, just a change, where learning helped you achieve it. Giving you 30 seconds. Doesn't have to be big or official. Any change where learning helped. Got it? I'm going to give you 2 times 45 seconds to turn to your neighbor and just exchange about this subject. What changed in your life and was there and where learning helped you achieve it? 1 minute and 30 seconds. Let's go. Thank you. It's like magic. Wow. Thank you. Okay. Quick shout out. How does learning help change? Few words. Information. Yeah. Confidence, motivation, sorry. Accelerate. Why so? Mindset change. Needs. Sorry. Comfort. Innovation. Yeah. So learning helps us know what was initially unknown, right? So we're linking change, I am at least linking change to learning. Please remind me, what is the human's organ which is responsible for learning and change? The brain? No, it's the brain! Exactly. So how come, as change agents, we haven't got on the top of our backlog of lists to understand about human brain? I would have loved to have this insight earlier in my career, because now there are a lot that neuroscience is telling us, and brain-based learning, that we can use as change agents to understand that things deeply that come from human sciences and from the coaching perspective. And my role today is to spark your curiosity into this. My name is Hafedh, and I have been introduced to this neuroscience stuff by being a training from the back of the room trainer. This approach has opened my eyes into a wide new variety of techniques and understandings of how to bring people to understand things in a manner that sticks. Of course, I use it professionally in my digital transformations and organizational agility, but also with my kids. And I swear to you, it helps a lot. So, of course, when we hear neuroscience, we say, whoa, yeah, I know. But let me introduce you to this. So I prepared a quiz for you, just an introduction to brain science. I'm going to show you statements with thumbs up if the statement is a fact, and thumbs down if it's false or a myth. Okay? Let's go. Our brain has an average of 80 million neurons. I think Alistair gave the answer earlier. Indeed, it's 86 billion neurons. Next. Every neuron has between 1,000 and 10,000 synaptic connections to other neurons. Let's see what Leon from Resident Evil is saying. Yes, we have more synaptic connections than there are stars in our galaxy. The heavier the human brain, the more intelligent its owner is. Of course not. Einstein's brain weighs 1.3 kilograms, which is below the average of 1.5. And the last one, our brain consumes more than 20% of our human body's energy. Indeed, says Kratos, and believe me, he doesn't choose his brain. So, this is wonderful. Our organ here is a galaxy of information that brings us in a lot of things to understand. So, congrats, you scratched a micrometer of the neuroscience stuff. So neuroscience is a very new stuff in science. There's a lot of things that are happening every day, but there are already a lot of things that we can use as change agents. Okay. Before I speak about what makes a change brain-friendly, I'm going to do like all the politicians today. I'm going to speak about scary stuff. Change can be harmful. Well, I put this by sudden change just to catch your attention. I hope it worked. But no evidence showed that a person died out of a sudden change. Okay? So, to picture this, and many of my fellow speakers spoke about examples, imagine yourself driving peacefully your car in very nice weather. The windows are down, you're cruising peacefully, you enjoying the ride, you have your favorite music going on, and someone, a jerk, is just passing you by and hits the brakes suddenly with no warnings. Even the red lights are not working fine. What happens? Your body jolts. You have a rush of energy coming in to help you survive the moment. You starting gripping the wheel as strong as you can. Now, imagine this person doubling you. Imagine him or her keeping on braking in front of you over and over again with no warning, with no explanation. How long it would take you before you just stop enjoying driving a car? So this metaphor is not far from our professional life. How many of you, by raise of hands, met a team that spoke about Oh, this is our 10th transformation. Oh, this is another set of agile coaches. Oh, the other one is speaking about Kanban, now we're doing Scrum, etc. Exactly. So it's exactly the same. So let me introduce you to the mechanics happening inside of our brain. I'm doing this so that you, like me, build empathy towards these teams, towards these people. Actually, what happens is, Alistair spoke about it a little bit, there are two neurochemicals responsible of this resistance. To simplify, of course, noradrenaline, or what we call norepinephrine. So it's a neurotransmitter that triggers the secretion of the hormone called cortisol, which is the hormone of stress, exactly. So with these two in action, our body switches to a new way of dealing with things. It's called the sympathetic nervous system. In this status, our body is ready for a flight or fight mode. You know, I can bet also that you had this situation where it was so sudden that your mouth became dry. You have the pupils, eyes pupils dilated, exactly. Your heart is beating, your breathing is short and saccaded, and we can sometimes feel the urge of going to the bathroom, even though there's nothing to do. So all of these signs are a signs of something is happening that we cannot have an explanation for it. We cannot understand why is it happening. And we cannot feel like we have the time to respond to it. So, again, in my example, when I asked you, when someone keeps on breaking in front of you over and over again, teams are going on transformations over and over again with no explanations, this becomes dangerous. And by dangerous, I believe that it might create a phobia towards change and towards help. So when the stress becomes hard enough and strong enough, amygdalas come into play. So amygdalas are little grapes in our brain that regulate emotions and memory, because memory and emotions are really linked. What they do actually, they take post-its and they write the context. Oh, okay, so whenever a new coach arrives in the team and he starts or she starts speaking about Scrum and a new framework, then you felt a stress. So next time, I'll warn you. Whenever a new coach comes to your team, then I'll warn you and give you all the signals that say it's similar to the last time that it happened. So, this is exactly what we need to understand as change agents. I loved the phrase that Alan told me earlier. So, whenever someone is resisting, it doesn't mean it's a bad person. It's because something is unclear in our message or in our work. So, with this, what does then a brain-friendly change mean? Well, today my promise for you is sparking curiosity, but also to give you some tools that you can use at least to hack your colleagues or organization's brains into going towards less resistance. And of course, it starts with the first thing that we cannot go without speaking about is the psychological safety. Any learning, any change could not happen without a psychological safe environment. And the second thing that we'll be talking about later is how to leverage on brain-based learning to make change stick. Let's focus on psychological safety first. How can we, practically speaking, put in some psychological safety in our teams? First tool, connections. By connections is about creating working groups. So what Alistair made us do earlier was an act of creating psychological safety, asking us to turn it to each other and starting to share. Second thing, Diana spoke about it this morning, appreciative inquiry. building on what the team knows to link to the future. Third thing, play games. My favorite team building tool is Mario Kart on Switch. And it's working marvelously fine. Well, let them spend time together. Okay, some tools, easy. Let's understand from a brain perspective what's happening. Why? Because there are what we call those neurochemicals. There is, by doing these connections, you trigger the motivation neurotransmitter, dopamine. People are rewarded because they feel they achieved and the goals that they want. You make oxytocin happen. So oxytocin is the hormone of bonding. It makes us linked to our parents, to our family, to our friends. And spoiler alert, it's hard to have oxytocin over working from home, but it still can be done. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter that allows a person to feel socially accepted. So when your team, a team member feels like he or she is heard, then you have her serotonin achieved, levels achieved. And the final one is endorphin. When we're having a laughter, a good laughter with our teammates, then we have this feeling of easiness, easygoingness. So this is what connection brings, and this is what builds psychological safety. Second thing, if the first one is not achievable, please help your teammates breathe. There are more and more companies in France that introduce this ritual before meetings to help to create a controlled breathing. This helps release a little bit stress and oxygenate the brain. Speaking about oxygen, make them move in your workshops, in your meetings. Find excuses to make them move. Put some charts. Ask them to bring Post-its and put them out over there. If you are in a virtual meeting, ask them to go grab some water, some coffee. Why? Because it has been proven that oxygen dilutes adrenaline. So it diminishes a little bit of resistance. These are hacks towards a better and less resistance on a biological level. So, we spoke about psychological safety. Let's go on to brain-based learning. So, what is the basis of brain-based learning? It's called neuroplasticity. I'm gonna go do an experiment with you. So, for the next slide, I'm gonna show you an image. This image represents one woman. I'm gonna ask you to tell me out loud what is not the age. Is she an old woman or is she a young woman? If you know the image and the trick, tell me what you see first, okay? 2 seconds. Okay, who saw an old woman? Wow, who saw a young woman? Okay, all right. So, let's take a look. Let's start with the young woman. This is her profile, actually. This is her chin, this is her nose, her eye, and her ear. Okay? So this is just her face. This is the young woman. The old woman, this is her chin over here. She's got her mouth over here and a big nose. Okay? Those who saw a young woman, did you see the old one? And vice versa. Okay, it's okay for those who didn't, but I put you the QR code, you can contemplate it. So, what you just did is that, for those of you who succeeded into seeing the both of them, your brain just rewired to understand a new reality. This is made by neuroplasticity. And you cannot unlearn this learning. If I show you this image in 6 months, 1 year, you will be able to say, okay, I know this. So, having said that, why did we see only one thing on the start? Well, I'm starting to answer the question of earlier. Our brain is lazy. It's like a cat basking in the sun. It doesn't want to make efforts. This is why things like stereotypes exist. Things like cognitive biases, because they are shortcuts that allow our brain not to spend too much effort. So it's hard for people to take a step back and to understand the big picture. Do not, as change agents, demand too much. Our way of doing is to provide enough information and enough context so that we create the trigger. And I'm going to give you some examples on how to do that. The positive thing is that our brain is able to unlearn things to learn new things. So, what is then neuroplasticity? I didn't have a connection earlier because I wanted to insert your slides about the results of percentage of results of the geniuses to answer your question. So let me start by saying this. To understand neuroplasticity, imagine your brain as a dense, lush wood. When you're 3, 4 years old, it's more like this. So whenever we have a new practice, let's have a new, I don't know, a new agile thing to do, testing or new language to learn, etc., we start by templing the plans little by little. When we do it more, then these we create little roads inside the forest. And if we do it for months, those roads become streets, or streets become roads. And if we do it for years, they become highway. So it becomes our new habit. This is why it's really hard for adults to learn new things. And this is why it's easier for young people to experiment, because they do not have all the highways that you and I have in our minds. They are building things, they are trying, they are testing and learning. So, the key here for learning and changing, it is simple. It's repetition. This is life, and we repeat to learn. So, learning under the repetition loop, I put it as a trigger, which is called learning, and the practice. And the more we learn, the more we can able to adapt our practice, etc., etc. So this loop can take a while, months, years, but here's the trick. If the learning part is brain-based, then we can accelerate the change that we want from this learning. So what does brain-based learning means? And I'm quoting Sharon Bowman, the author of Training from the Back of the Room and who created the approach. She said that knowing the brain science that forms the foundation of effective instruction is like knowing the rules of the road. If you do not know the rules of the road, you are still able to drive, aren't you? But you can reach your destination, but at which cost? It can be harmful. So knowing how the brain learns would help to make the learning effective. And one technique I want you to have as a takeaway is called intermittent practice. So intermittent practice, or 6 times, 6 ways, is a way to introduce a new concept and make it stick. So this is used by advertisers. So for example, you wake up in the morning, you open, I don't know, for example, newspaper, you have a picture of a Pepsi bottle. You go and open the door of your car, you put the radio, you have the Pepsi jingle working on. You drive to your homes, you have a billboard with Pepsi, etc., etc. So this practice is saying that to introduce a new concept, do it at least 6 times in 6 different ways. Why in different ways? To catch the attention, so that it wouldn't be redundant. So applications like Duolingo, for example, uses the same way. Sometimes you repeat, you have to write, sometimes etc. So how do I use this? Anyone not familiar with WIP limits? Not familiar? Okay, so WIP limiting is the fact to say that for a team, I need to focus on finishing things before starting new things. It's coming from Kanban, and I use the 6 times 6 ways in this manner. So firstly, I start speaking about the WIP limit. Then I start doing an awareness session. I do a Kanban change with the team. So between T3 and T1, there has been some time, and it starts to become something like a road. I continue. I implement it with the team uh, for real in the board, and we start discussions. Fourth time, fifth time, I improve it if needed, and the sixth time, I start flowing in with upstream and downstream teams this practice. So the difference between T0 and T3 is that we repeat. I repeat on purpose the concept, but in different ways, and that way it becomes the new reality. So some takeaways from what we just did. First, connection, breathing, and movement are hacks toward psychological safety. It won't guarantee you an environment, but at least on a biological level, it helps. Then our brains love being in autopilot mode, laziness. We do not want to spend much effort. You have the neuroplasticity behind the brain's learning. Change happens in a loop, and the change is rooted in learning. It's become brain friendly. And the last tool is the 6 times, 6 ways. From real life, companies like Google put in some initiatives. So for example, they put in the Googler to Googler initiative, which is voluntary based and helps people feel psychologically safe getting the information from their peers. So it is about repetition, it is about creating shorter chunks of learning instead of 8 hours a day, and it helps the learning and thus the impact on change happen better. Microsoft, who did a big job working with Carol Dweck on building a company that switches from know it all to learn it all. And they have this program with their middle management, I think a few years ago. I don't know if it's going on until today, but they have switched with Nadella the culture altogether. So, for the last couple of minutes that we have, I'm going to just ask you to reflect on what you just saw together, okay? And for the next 1 minute and 30 seconds, I'm going to ask you to turn to another neighbor, and if you are on the extreme sides, turn to the one behind you, and please answer this question. And 1, 2, 3, let's go. Merci beaucoup. Thank you in French. Okay, so well, it has been a pleasure for me doing this. I'm gonna put you some things that inspired me for this talk. Of course, there's Sharon Bowman's book, but also wonderful one from John Medina, Brain Rules, which is a wonderful thing to read. Please connect with me. I put you also a video of how to learn to drive a bicycle that turns on the opposite. So if you turn left, it goes right. And it's mind-blowing on how the brain is capable of neuroplasticity. So Again, thank you very much.